seems to fade now, and I feel like I'm losing time, but I don't know how I'm here. The sunlight has turned to grey, and I feel like I'm losing love again. I don't know how I'm here. I could feel your heartbeat. I could feel somewhere you're looking now. I could feel your heartbeat. I could feel somewhere you're looking now. 'Cause it's you I'm loving, and it's you that I wanna breathe. And it's you I'm loving, and it's you that I wanna need.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Simracersworld TV. And once again, we're here for the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing Series. My name is Chaz Draycott. Alongside me in the box this afternoon is Jack Werrell and Peter MacKay. And well, Zandvoort, what a place for this series to come to. A very, very technical and tight circuit, much like we saw last time out at Oulton Park. And I cannot wait to see what these guys make of this one. Starting with you, Jack. We've seen a lot of interesting races here before in previous series on Simracersworld TV. Do you reckon that this is going to be a bit of a shake-up of the order, or are we going to see more of the same tonight?
If I'm honest, I'm not really sure, because it's quite a technical circuit when you look at it. It's got lots of elevation change and no corner is like the one prior to it. So I think that'll be it'll be something to get used to. And in these Porsche 911 Cup cars, they're known for being maybe not the most stable of cars. So around a circuit as tight and as twisty and as undulating as Zandvoort, I think it's going to be a real challenge for a lot of the drivers out, and we might see someone rise to the top that we maybe haven't seen.
And what do you think, Peter? It's as Jack alludes to there, it is a very undulating circuit, you know, different cambers here and there, and plenty of high-speed corners as well that these guys really need to focus on. Do you think this is going to be a tricky combination?
Oh, very much so, Chaz. Yes, it's got a lot of changes of direction as well, and of course with the 911 GT3 Cup car with the engine in the rear, that kind of change of direction and the weight transfer is tricky to manage. Also, we're right on the coast here, as you can see on our track map there on the screen, just 7 meters of altitude. That's because it's right on the beach here at Zandvoort, and basically the whole circuit is cut into the sand dunes that run along the north coast of the Netherlands. And because it's so close to the beach, the sand of course blows onto the track, and the track is very, very low grip surface, so it's tricky it's tricky in any car, but particularly in this car. So also, you know, the technique of trail braking right into the apex of the corner is really, really helpful here at this circuit, and particularly in these cars.
Well, it's going to be good to see whether any of them can master that for sure this evening. And let's just take a quick look at the championship standings for everybody, just so you can see how things have been played out so far. Ryan Parkins on 176 points has quite the gap now over Austin Greater X. Carl Sharkey is third in the standings on 116 points. Mark Phillips, championship organiser, is in fourth, but it's so close behind him to Johnny Elia, only 1 point back, then it's 2 points back to Mark Bowe. Gavin Hall's only 9 points behind him, then 10 to James Cummings. I mean, even Ian Hannon and Angus Archer further down the order, they're actually tied on points at the moment. So it just shows, Jack, that it's not just the top that we need to think about here. I mean, one decent result could project anybody really far up the standings.
It really could, and I think that's just going to add to the suspense going into rounds 9 and 10 today. And like you alluded to, with Ian Hannon and Angus Archer both being on 38 points, the people in front of those in 15th and 16th in the standings, Matthew Dorrington and Matt Calhenny, we know how quick they are, and we know they've been racing door to door at rounds 1 and 2. And if we see one of those two back, I think it'd be good to see where they end up if they join in the latter part of the season. But yeah, it's going to be a very, very close day of racing, and I'm hoping it leads on to an even closer final few championship rounds.
I'm sure it will, mate. I'm sure it will. We'll look then at Ryan Parkins, current championship leader, and Ryan has been putting in some incredible performances so far. Just really, to be honest with you, Peter, it's not been the most exciting of performances each time by Ryan, but it's just enough to get the job done, isn't it? That's all he needs to do.
Yeah, Ryan's been absolutely flawless this season, to be honest. I mean, the only just one tiny incident last time out at Oulton Park is the only blot in his copybook over what have been some really chaotic races. So he's done well to keep his nose clean, and that's why he's at the front of the championship. But yeah, it's been really, really impressive as well. And it's been a great addition to the championship and the community, because the community within this Porsche Club of Great Britain sim racing paddock is a big part of this championship as well. That's something, of course, that you won't see on screen, but it's something that goes on in the background, and there's some great camaraderie between the drivers. And of course, I have a good announcement, guys, because we've got another fan. So we've now got two, which is fantastic. Ryan's sponsor, Kate from ARRI Crew, has basically never taken an interest in motor racing, but started watching it when Ryan was taking part, and has enjoyed our broadcast so much that she's continuing to tune in. So, Kate, if you're watching, thank you very much, and hope you enjoy the race today.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, Kate. I reflect the comments from Peter as well. Hope you do enjoy it. Let's have a look at some of the guys a bit further down. James Cummings has usually got a different livery on this car in terms of the spec map. We've seen before that it's a sort of matte colour with other sponsors on it by the look of it, Jack. But this chrome, and even, you know what? I know what you're going to know exactly what I'm going to point out here. What do you reckon it is?
I'm not sure, if I'm honest, but surely it makes it go quicker because it's chrome.
Yeah, I agree, but it's the fact that the number boards aren't. And he's kept the number boards nice and glossy, or even matte, I believe, to make sure that they're still readable and not chrome. And it's little details like that I'm a humongous fan of, but that's a very, very good-looking car now. It's chrome. Here is Carl Sharkey, speaking of good-looking cars. He's actually changed his livery with a Porsche Sport livery all over it now. That looks absolutely brilliant for this round. So I did say it was a good-looking car anyway, but that was on his old livery. This is even better, in my opinion. It looks absolutely smashing. Chris Bowie in the slightly changed colours of the announcement livery that we saw from Porsche, and their beautiful colours that we all know and love. Oliver Carwadine, he's in a different livery as well today in the red and white machine. Usually his car is just white with a red stripe down it. Let's have a look. Who else have we got? Austin Greaterex. We know this livery by now, don't we, Peter? The Quantum Racing livery, very striking.
Yeah, Austin now, of course, driving for the Quantum Racing team. When he first came into the Porsche Club of Great Britain sim racing paddock, he had a car painted in what's known as dazzle camouflage, but I must be honest, with my ignorance, I just called it the zebra pattern, and thus was the flying zebra was born. So we haven't seen this flying zebra for a while, but maybe Austin will bring it back just for one race, just to keep us happy.
Well, I'm sure he will if he watches. He's a good sport. Here's Amrik Sashdev, currently 18th on the road at the moment. The guys are just in practice, so not quite into qualifying yet, which is going to be one of the telling points. Here's Luke Holroyd, another one in the Porsche Sport livery with Strasser and Dynamics on there as well. Obviously part of the Simracersworld group, which has been enjoying a lot of success with its broadcasts and series at the moment. Porsche Sport have been very supportive. Luke is also actually very active in our YouTube chats a lot of the time, and to be honest, Jack, he's been a great guy to work with for all us lot, so it's good to see him getting involved in the racing as well, isn't it?
It really is, and he knows what he's doing because he's like sort of week in, week out, he's turned up even after putting in all of that work in the background and sort of guiding us where we need to go as well. You'd thought he'd be bored of iRacing and Porsches, but evidently not. The fire stays lit for him, and he's really enjoying it at the moment. And I've got to say, that new Porsche Sport livery which he's released for himself and Carl Sharkey, I think it looks the part, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely, really does. It's just neat and tidy. It shows you that you don't have to have a very sort of complex livery for it to look right. Look at Ryan Ratcliffe, who again was another one that was very quick at the start of the season, but we saw a couple of scrappy rounds from him, to be honest, didn't we, Peter? Just once the series got underway, and he hasn't been scoring the points that we expected, but some of his drives through the field have been very exciting to watch.
Yeah, they have indeed. Of course, Ryan has real-world racing experience in British GT, but yeah, he's been given a bit of a rude awakening to sim racing and how aggressive it can be at times. But yeah, good to see him back after a brief hiatus, and hopefully we'll see him have a good result today here at Zandvoort.
Here's Carl Hazelton in the number 24 car. You can hear the pops and bangs on the downshift. It's one of my favourite things about iRacing's X Audio 2 system they've done. There's the pink pig of Andrew Marston. Great to see that he's still carrying that livery. Even the numbers are pink on the windscreen and the rear window as well. And I believe if we go on board, yep, the roll cage too. He's struggling to get it out of the hairpin there a little bit, but it's backfiring its absolute nads off, so it sounds brilliant to me. But we'll hopefully see him get some points. Here's Mark Bowe in the livery that he's supposed to be in, so I'm sure he'll be happy now, because there was a slight setting at my end that I didn't quite have right for Mark in previous rounds, so his livery wasn't showing correctly, but there you go. There's actually quite a lot of guys in the pits here, to be honest, with, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, we've only got, oh well there we go, his practice finishes then. That shuts me up, everyone in the pits now. The session will reset, the graphics will do their thing, and then we'll get some of these guys then coming out on track then. Johnny Elia, one of the first guys out, he's in the very striking yellow machine, number 688, thank you NHS on the rear wing as well. Mark Baxter-Jones just ahead of him in the Minty Boy, as I'm sure Jimmy Broadbent would probably call it there, Jack. It's a sort of livery that you know you want to make it stand out, but it still contains the usual Porsche Club GB branding on it, so it's best of both worlds, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's sort of a love-hate relationship for me with that livery, because I do like that colour, but I think on a Porsche it's not necessarily my preferred colour. I prefer a red or a black or a white, something a little more aggressive than the tame sort of teal turquoisey colour that's on that car. But yeah, like I say, the most important thing, it's got all of its Pirelli and Porsche Sport branding on it, and I think that just, well, makes the race car look a bit more race car.
Definitely does. Here's Mark Searle. He's got an interesting spec map on his machine. A lot of metallic colours going on there. Dan Bathy, another one that I absolutely love the livery on this car. The gorgeous matte effect on it. It's almost like he knows we're watching. Weaving the car around there to try and get some temperature in the tyres. Gavin Halls in the Harrods McLaren livery. He's just been off the circuit for some reason. Let's have a look what's happened here. Oh, he's got Ryan Parkins on the back of him. He brakes. Oh, a little bit of what we like to call netcode there. The two of them sort of touch each other, and Parkins is in the gravel, and he's going to go and disappear and get a new car, I'm sure. Yep, there he goes. And Gavin manages to continue. Let's have a look. Who else have we not had a quick look at this afternoon? I think that's pretty much everybody, to be fair, that's had a little bit of airtime so far. Is Mark Sill back out there. You can see the plastics on the rear windows as well have been done completely matte, and they're white as well on this livery, so it certainly is an interesting one, this, Peter. It's he's just had a bit of a play around with the spec map, hasn't he? But to be honest, the metallic bits look great.
Oh yeah, they certainly do, indeed, for Dan Bathy, and that's what I love about sim racing is as well. You can be completely creative with your car, and I have to say, I'm a big fan of the throwback liveries. So we've got Stuart Clark, who's got the Sunoco Porsche from the old 91730, the old Can-Am car, which is very, very cool as well. So yeah, lots of really cool liveries out here today.
They certainly are, and to be honest, you did highlight the fact there that Stuart Clark was the only one I hadn't looked at yet, I believe. Angus Archer and Paul Stout actually are both apparently not quite in the session. I'm just trying clicking on them, and we've got nothing at the moment. But what we'll do, everybody, is as Ryan Parkins comes towards the end of a lap, we'll go on board and show you a lap then with the championship leader round the final corner. Such a difficult corner to get right. You want to take as late apex as possible, but make sure you open up the corner as best you can. Down the straight here at Zandvoort. On the map it looks like it's a very long straight, but it's not actually that long in all fairness. Onto the brakes, you can see the rubber marks where the cars have been bouncing around into turn one. Plenty of camber here to help you out. Loads of lock on there from Ryan. Lets the car out to the left hand side. Bring it away just a little bit so you can open up the quick left kink. Into the right, over the crest, and then back onto the brakes into the hairpin. Again, more camber here, but it's a bit of a strange corner because the apex sort of straightens up a bit and sticks out, so you have to sort of take it as a double apex. Now you're flat out over two hills here through a very windy section. Baxter Jones goes fastest at the moment. A little bit of curb on the inside for Parkins. It's a blind call almost around here. It's so scary going over that crest, making sure you've got it right on the brakes. Late apex again, let it over to the left. Make sure you don't hit that grass and spin up the rears. Plenty of curb on the right. Let the car wash out wide again. Onto the brakes again. Another very tricky corner to get right because the track seems so open at this point. It's hard to get it absolutely nailed. It's very easy to take the wrong line or just misjudge it into a left-hander hairpin. Again, let the car wash wide, not too much so that you run wide and get an incident point. over a crest again. Another almost blind braking zone. Plenty of rubber in the little area where the drivers have started to brake. More camber through here. You almost go into it thinking it's a chicane and then realise it's like a hairpin in the second part. You hear Ryan get off the throttle so he doesn't let the car run wide. Onto the brakes again. Another tight right-hander, but the camber you can see there really helping these guys around a lot of these corners. And of course this is now what is the famous banked section that everyone's been raving about. Round the final corner and across the line. We'll see what Ryan Parkins manages to do, but just goes to show though from on board it is a lot more of a tricky lap than it looks from outside there, Jack, as Parkins goes second to Gavin Halls.
Yeah, I think it is quite a complex circuit, because like you say, there was lots of camber that helps you, but there's lots of camber that really doesn't help you as well. And the curbs, they're hit and miss really, because some curbs you can use and get away with it, but maybe if you hit it at the wrong angle or the wrong speed on the next lap, it will throw the car into the middle of the circuit. And we know how important the placement of your car is around here, and if you're in like a couple of feet inside of the circuit compared to where you want to be, it will ruin your line, ruin your momentum. And where momentum isn't exactly a virtue, it's going to really affect your lap time and maybe even your race at the time. But it looks like so far everybody's getting some nice clean laps in. The leaders at the moment, Gavin Halls and Ryan Parkins, are 2/10 apart, which sounds like a lot, but that can be easily found. Well, I say that, but it looks like Gavin Halls has gone a second quicker than anybody else.
Wow, what a time that is by Gavin Halls. Manages to gain some real pace there as Mark Phillips goes into 5th place. That's another livery that I'm a humongous fan of. Dave Cam watching in the chat as well. Good to see you, mate. Good afternoon. Austin Greatorex goes third at 140.8. And I tell you what, I was expecting, I didn't really sort of realise how long a lap around Zandvoort would be in these cars. 140s, 141s is quite a long time, but seems like these boys are really hustling it around here. Let's have a quick look then at Carl Hazelson, who is a bit further down at the moment, 15th. I do like the livery on that car. It's got the extra number board on the bonnet as well. Ryan Parkins goes fastest. There you go. He's done it. Back up to the top, 139.5. So him and Gavin Halls, the only ones in 139s at the minute, Peter. And, well, I'm sure these laps will probably tumble even more, but it's a good start to the session for those boys, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very good indeed. Anything sub 140 here in this car is very impressive. I remember last season doing quite a lot of races in the official Porsche Cup Series on iRacing at Zandvoort. It's one of my favourite circuits. It's such a challenge, particularly in this car. And yeah, anything under 140 is going to have you a good chance of winning in most splits in the official races, as we see. Oh, James Cummings getting into the wall there, so he'll have to come back into pit lane and maybe get a little repair. Let's see what happened there. We've got the Carlos Fandango car there as well, flashing on screen. James he's got a strange pattern on his on the roof there. It almost looks like it's like a Catalonian flag or something like that. Forgive me if I'm getting it wrong. I don't know what the chat is there with that one, but yeah, funny enough, talking about the layout of the Zandvoort circuit, the final corner, it kind of reminds me a lot of the Parabolica at Monza, and that constant and getting that. This is a really tricky track to overtake on in the mid part of the circuit, but there are a couple of opportunities where you can really dive bomb and get some moves done. And one particular way to do it is to set it up coming out of that final corner, getting a good exit out of there. You can then make the move into turn one. But I have to say, some of the names of the corners here, being in Dutch, are just fantastic. The turn one is called Tarzan Bend, which will be probably quite apt when we get to a reverse grid race. And the final corner is called the Arie Luijendijk Bend, which is named after Arie Luijendijk, who still holds the qualifying record for the Indy 500 back in 1996. 237 miles an hour average speed over 10 miles, which is just ridiculous. And of course, it's never been topped, because after that, it was decided that it was maybe a good idea to slow them down ever so slightly.
He probably came in and they went, right, we're done here, boys. Let's not worry about this anymore. You win, fair enough. But wow, as an average as well, that's absolutely balmy. As Gavin Halls goes back to the top, 139.471. Beautiful time there for the Harrods painted machine. It's the Northumberland flag, apparently. Says Hurling Fruitmig, which is probably one of my favourite YouTube names I've ever seen. Northumberland flag, yeah. Fair play. Dan Bathy, 4th at the moment. Mark Phillips has gone up to 3rd. Carl Sharkey's down to 5th. And Austin Greatorex, of course, 2nd in the championship. Well, never mind. He's just gone up to 3rd. So he proves me wrong very quickly there, Jack. But these guys are good at doing that, aren't they?
They definitely are. Well, Dan Bathy has just gone and topped Greatorex, and he's posted a 1 minute 40.293. But it's still looking at the timing screens. Gavin Halls and Ryan Parkins are the only people to get into the 39s, and they're well and truly into the 39s. They're almost halfway through it, and I know it's going to be pushing for a fair bit extra, but I'm going to say if Ryan Parkins gets his head down, or they start drafting off each other, there's possibly even a 38 on the cards, and that would be almost 2 seconds quicker than anybody else has gone in this session.
Yeah, they could certainly pull it out of the bag with a little bit of help. We'll have to see what they can do. Carl Hazelton out the final corner there. You can just hear from the revs as well, the different speeds these guys are coming out the final corner. Let's see if Carl can improve from 16th place. No, I believe that may have been an outlap from him, actually. Ryan Ratcliffe's about to complete a lap, though. He goes flying past the camera here. He's in 7th at the moment, 1.3 seconds down. No, nothing from him either. Gavin Halls, what can he do? Let's see. Around the final corner again. Commitment on the inside. Lets it run a bit wide. Oh, that's properly out of shape, and that's in the wall. And like I was saying before, they just don't want to touch the grass on the outside of any of these corners, Peter, because that's how easy it is to light up the rears, and it can ruin your race and end your race as such.
Yeah, that's going to be a hot spot for action during the race, because coming out of the Harry Lowendijk bend, you're using every last bit of curb on the exit to get that. Particularly in qualifying, that's a good example of just how hard the drivers have to push in qualifying. If you want to set a lap time under 1 minute 40, you are taking pretty big liberties all the way around this lap. So yeah, very, very challenging indeed. Now I notice Oliver Carradine has a new livery on his car with I tell you what, I like those I like the font along the side of the over the rear wheels there. That's very much like the GT3 RS road car. But I want to mention the logo on the front bonnet of that car, Omologato. So Omologato are one of the sponsors of the Real World Porsche Club of Great Britain Racing Championship, and Omologato make all kinds of different motorsport inspired watches, and in fact they're the official watch of Watkins Glen, believe it or not. So and the owner of Omologato owns a 911 GT3, so that's very apt indeed. And of course the Real World Porsche Club of Great Britain Motorsport, as we see Paul Stout ploughing the Manthey car into the wall there. Let's see what's going to happen here. Coming around, that's a fast corner there, down from 5th to 4th gear, and straight onto the sand, sorry. Does well to keep it out the barrier though.
You say that?
No, did I say that? Oh dear, goodness me, he did keep it out the gravel. But yeah, just the real World Porsche Club of Great Britain Racing Championship will get started on the 11th of July at Snetterton. Unfortunately, not open to spectators yet. But the final 4 rounds, July the 25th at Oulton Park, September the 6th at Brands Hatch, and October the 3rd at Oulton Park, and finally November the 7th at Donington, they're all hopefully going to have at least some form of spectators. So that's great to see, but it's brilliant having the Sim Racing Championship now firmly established and ready to run alongside the real world equivalent.
Yeah, definitely. And I believe those meetings that you mentioned there will be... as Baxter Jones has decided to park it at the side of the road. Those meetings are actually probably going to be ones that I'll be attending as well, due to the Sports 2000 series that'll be going to a couple of those, which is a nice little mix. Small world. Austin Greatorex at the moment, he's going to be hoping it becomes a bit of a smaller world, because there's a bit of daylight between him and Ryan Parkins at the moment. 1.1 seconds to be exact. And Dan Bathy and Mark Phillips are the 2 cars ahead of him. So let's see what Austin can do. He's out the final corner now. This is his outlap though. So he's going to be going on to a hot one this time round. We've got Baxter Jones just coming back out on the circuit. Chris Bowie's 12th at the moment, with David, of his namesake, on the bonnet. And it's a very, very tricky corner, that, isn't it, Jack? Because like I was saying before when we were on board with Ryan Parkins, it looks like a chicane going into it. But you can't just get your foot down on the exit, because you have to realise that it's pretty much a hairpin, isn't it?
Yeah, in theory it is, because you go so deep into that first right-hander, you've almost got to go back on yourself to get a decent run around the left-hander. And I've driven this course in many a car, whether it be in these 911 Cup cars or the GT4 variants or Formula 3s or GTEs even. And there is a line through there, but it's very hard to nail it every single lap, because maybe you brake that extra bit later because you get slightly more confident, and then you just end up ruining the momentum around the corner, or you brake earlier and to try and get that run through the left-hander, but then you compromise your right-hander. So it really is a tricky corner to get right, and it almost copies itself around the entire course, because there are lots of corners where there are lots of different lines you can take through them, both with their specific pros and cons. Which I think when we get everybody racing door to door in just over 10 minutes time, it's going to be really good to see how the drivers approach it.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of different tactics from these guys around here, because it's going to be a very, very tough one to get right. As we were saying earlier on, it's a narrow circuit, and I mean, we were treated to an absolute delightful round at Oulton Park last time, weren't we, Peter? It was pretty amazing, but they're going to have to be just as cautious here because of how sort of one line a lot of these corners are.
Yes, you're spot on, and if you're going to make an overtake, you're going to have to be pretty aggressive, to be honest. I mean, funnily enough, we saw one of the most amazing overtaking moves of the season last weekend at, 2 weekends ago at Oulton Park, when Paul Riga, he's now called Paul Anchors Riga, I've given him a new nickname, because if you remember that move he made down on the brakes and down into the Hizzy chicane, absolutely amazing move, and making it cleanly and aggressively. Here at Zandvoort, that's going to be the same. So here, coming out of the final corner, heading down towards turn 1, Tarzan Bend, you're going to have to get a little bit aggressive into there. You're going to see a lot of block passing. You can make a block pass here into turn 1, also into turn 3, the Hugenholz Bend as well. Yeah, as you say, there's a lot of stuff that's one line, but there are places like here, for example, you can do a little cheeky move up the inside, but often requires a little bit of trading paint. But as we've seen so far this season, some of our drivers aren't shy to get their elbows out.
Definitely not. Definitely not. The thing that you've got to think about is if you're going to go for a move around here that's one line as such, as we describe it, you've got to think about what the repercussions will be. So, you know, if you're second in a train of 4 cars, for example, if you go and then put it down the inside and you slow the pair of you up, is one of the guys behind you going to be able to sneak through and make a move themselves? It's all about risk management, I think, around here, and these guys are going to be wanting plenty of points. Here's Paul Stout in the Manti car, 3.7, nearly 3.8 seconds off the pace at the moment, fittingly in the number 37 car. Amrik Sachdev is behind him on the grid as things stand in 17th. He's got Austin Greatorex just going down the inside. Into turn 1, he's going a bit deep, and that's just how easy it is around here. Here's Mark Searle in the 777. Looks like we don't have Angus Archer and Mark Bowe, unfortunately. They are 20th and 21st effectively, but they've not set a time yet. Here's the Pink Pig, Andrew Marston. Not him, the car. Just going through the midsection of the lap. Up over the hill. And to be honest, Jack, every time I come back to Zandvoort to commentate here, virtually anyway, I do forget about how strong the elevation changes are. It's quite scary in certain places, isn't it?
It really is, and it's like what Peter alluded to, that it's built almost into the sand dunes and it's become part of them. And with it only being 7 meters above sea level, you'd think it's going to be sort of a gentle incline from the sea up through the higher altitudes, but there really is, like you say, a hell of a lot of elevation change going into what would be turns 6 and 7, I think. Just going over that crest into the blind right-hander, that's a lot of elevation change within about 100 meters of the circuit. And it's a 4,000 meter circuit. It's 4.25 kilometers long. So they've got lots of elevation change, and well, Andrew Marston's deciding that he wants to try out how much elevation change are on the curb, because he threw the car over the curb, but he's got it back going again, and I don't think that will have done any damage to the underside of the car. We've got lots of cars deciding what they want to do, whether they be off the pace or pulling over to the side of the road. So whether there's some sort of strategy going on that we don't know about, but everybody's got differing strategies into the final 7 minutes of the session.
Yeah, I think some of the guys are just weighing up whether they've got a good enough banker lap in or whether they just pull it over, get straight back to the pits and take advantage of the sim racing world and the fact that you can just teleport back to the pits and get straight back out rather than having an in lap and then wait for your tyres to be changed and go back out. So it's just about making sure you make the most of it. Mark Bowe, as you can see here, is now on track. Angus Archer hasn't taken to the circuit yet, but we'll just stick with Mark for a little bit and see what he can do. I would like to point out as well, as I've been made aware by Mr. Werrell, we are actually 1 subscriber away from 900 on Simracersworld TV. So thank you everybody that has subscribed to the channel so far. We really are glad that you're enjoying our broadcasts, and we hope that we continue to bring you good content. And I hope as well, I mean, especially on my part, that the stream looks okay. I've finally, after mentioning a lot that I've been rebuilding PCs and things, I've finally got, well, spent a lot of money on finally figuring out the good one, I'm going to call it now. And I'm hoping that the stream looks nice and clear for you guys, the frame rate's good. Let me know if there is anything that you need changing. But at the moment, everything seems pretty hunky-dory, to be honest, and I'm very, very glad to see it. But what a way to spend another Sunday afternoon, eh, Peter? Porsches, Zandvoort, and to be honest, we don't even need to leave our homes. It's great.
I know, it's very special. I have to say, I've been lucky enough to go here in real life. In my previous life, when I was peddling booze for a living, I used to spend a lot of time in Holland, and our importer was very close to Zandvoort, just down the road. And we would go along to the coast, and there's some fantastic catering vans along here that sell this particular type of fried fish called kibbeling, which are kind of like little, they're kind of like how we would have like fish and chips, but they're in a kind of like a round shape, actually. They're very, very tasty snacks. So we went a few times to get some kibbeling and watch some of the track days going on at Zandvoort while I was over there. It's an amazing circuit. I love it. I know it's a bit of a Marmite circuit. A lot of people don't like it. But I absolutely love it. And it's got a lot of history. You know, it's been running since 1948. So it's got a lot of heritage. And in fact, it was the place where Jim Clark, Scottish double world champion, he made his F1 debut here. Now, he was actually meant to take the grid in an Aston Martin, but Aston Martin didn't have the car ready on time, and he drove for Lotus instead. And of course, as we know, he never left the employment of Lotus after that.
Very interesting. It's crazy how little moments like that, you know, just not having the car ready. Imagine if they would have, and then he would have got stuck in a lull with them for a while, and then he could not have won world championships. And there's a lot of stories with different racing drivers where there are, you know, these little twists in time that just completely shape their career. And you think, if that wouldn't have happened, where would they be now? It's crazy. I'm just going to refresh my browser because Hurling has said you should have 900 subscribers, and we do. We've got 903 already, so thank you, everybody. Much appreciated. Simracersworld TV hits 900 live on air, Jack. There you go.
I was keeping an eye on it, but yeah, thank you very much, everybody, that has subscribed since day one. And if you have just subscribed, thank you very much as well. You've helped us reach that milestone, and we're only going to keep on going and pushing harder to get to four figures, and hopefully it comes sooner rather than later. But speaking of sooner, only 3 minutes of the qualifying session left, and there's no major moving up and down the order. Still Gavin Hall's on provisional pole position with a 1 minute 39.47. Ryan Parkins with a 1 minute 39.50, and Dan Bathy. So we now have the top three in the 1 minute 39 margin. Dan Bathy has just squeezed himself in with a 1 minute 39.98.
And he's doing a nice bit of a drift for us there, but that's how easy it is to do. We saw James Cummings do it earlier, just a kiss on the barrier there. But with no driving assists in these cars like traction control or ABS, they do become a proper driver's car, don't they, Peter? But it still means that the driver then has to worry about how difficult they are to drive.
Yes, they are really, really tricky. Of course, a lot of our top drivers making it look very easy indeed, but I can assure you they're not. And that, I was talking about this on a broadcast yesterday, that is just the joy of sim racing, is that you can always, oh dear, Caravan Carl's in the wall, oh no. Now, he's, in fact, I just noticed there that Carl Sharkey was giving his, it's Oliver Carmadine's in the wall as well. That was Carl Sharkey giving his teammate, or his new team boss, if you like, Luke Holroyd, a little bit of a tow himself, so returning the favour. Oh, just a little bit of snap oversteer there from Carmadine, oh dearie me. Now, Carl actually gave me a little bit of an exclusive. Oh, and drifted, Luke, look at that. Yeah, big backing it in there. That's like Francois Delcourt in the 911 RGT at the Monte Carlo Rally. Very impressive indeed. No, Carl gave me the exclusive a couple of days ago. He says, I've signed for Porsche Sport and you're going to have a new livery. Don't tell anyone. I was like, okay, Carl, I won't tell all your fans you've changed. And I said to Carl, I said, have you got the tow hook fitted on the front? He says, yeah, it comes as standard.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, we'll see whether he gets to use that tonight. And I look forward to that greatly. is Stuart Clark, then 13th at the moment in the number 23. Across the line he goes. Does not improve his time, unfortunately. And the session is about to tick over and finish. Just under a minute. Stuart Clark has just gone through then, and Paul Stout now just going into turn 1 in 17th. A little bit late in there. Misses the apex. Mark Searle just ahead of him on track. These guys just looking for any 10th they can get. Quite a bit off the pace at the moment. Mark Bowe is back in the pits after not actually... Oh, I think Paul's pulled the car over. He wants to get a new one and come back out. Oh, James Cummings has put it in the wall again just as we go to him. It was like a preemptive commentator's curse there. Here's championship organiser Mark Phillips. He's 4th at the moment on a 40.3. Doing a 40.64 last time round. Austin Greatorex has just had a bit of an excursion off the track here. Jack, what do you see?
So he's going through the middle sector around the hairpin, and we saw lots of drivers get caught out there, and he lit the rears up, over-rotated the car, and you can see just the tiny bit of elevation change between the circuit and the grass. It put the car up off all 4 wheels and, well, threw it into the barrier is probably the best way to put it. Once again, showing off the new damage model on these Porsches. Hopefully we don't see it during the race, but if we do, it's just going to add to the action. I'm
sure it will. And just visiting sort of Gavin Halls for a minute there, Peter. You did say at the start of the championship that he was going to be somebody to watch because he was very quick, and we've seen that he's had internet issues and incidents in races that hasn't really sort of let him show his pace. But that time in qualifying to beat Ryan Parkins, I mean, it's only a tiny margin, of course, 25 thousandths of a second, but either way you look at it, he's quicker, and it's a real good show of his pace, isn't it?
It definitely is. You know, Gavin's had a pretty eventful season and probably not been able to display the raw pace that he has. That we know he's always had that pace as we see the checkered flag coming out with Amrik Sashdev on track right now. But yes, you're right. It's great to see Gavin get it on pole position here, and as I say, to edge out Ryan Parkins, that is quite an achievement because Ryan has been such a standout driver of the season so far. And I would say Austin Greatorex making a wee mistake there. That's a collector's item. You don't see Austin make too many mistakes indeed, as we see Amrik go over the line to set his final time of the day, qualifying in 16th. Now, Amrik was funny in the virtual paddock after last time's race at Oulton Park, and he says, I'm going back to golf because he'd not had the best day at Oulton Park last time out.
Well, I'm not surprised. I imagine the golfing is a lot more relaxing than this. But it should be good fun to at least be around here in Zandvoort, and I hope the guys do enjoy it. We are just waiting for the session to tick over now then, everybody, and it'll be all good to go. But what a brilliant performance that is, though, by Gavin Halls. Really showing Ryan Parkins what he's got, and showing everybody else what he's got as well. The pace is absolutely fantastic. And we're going to see a very, very tough race for these guys around here, I think. It's going to be slightly different to what we saw at Oulton Park. I know that Oulton's got a lot of grass runoff, similar to Zandvoort, but a lot of the barriers are much closer here. So we've got elevation changes, we've got a narrow circuit, and a hell of a lot of Porsches to chuck around it as well. It doesn't look like Angus Archer managed to put a time in that one, unfortunately. So he will not be taking to the grid, I don't think. But there is your grid then. Gavin Halls, pole position alongside Ryan Parkins. Dan Bathy on row 2 with Mark Phillips in 4th. We then have Austin Greatorex, 2nd in the championship in 5th, ahead of Carl Sharkey. Ryan Ratcliffe is 7th with Mark Baxter-Jones in 8th. Johnny Elia is 9th with Chris Bowie in 10th. We have Luke Holroyd from Porsche Sport in 11th with James Cummings in 12th in the Chrome machine. Then we have Stuart Clark 13th, Oliver Carwadine 14th, Carl Hazelton and Amrik Sashdev on row 8, Paul Stout 17th with Mark Searle in 18th, and it's Andrew Marston and Mark Bowe rounding out your top 20, and Angus Archer in 21st, should he take to the grid. Right then, there's your pole sitter Gavin Halls. Just in the foreground is Ryan Parkins. I'm just going to check some of the different cameras that we've got here just so we can have a look. Jack R UK says, can't wait for the race of the season you guys are covering tonight. But anyway, here we go then. Round 9 of the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing Series is underway, and it's a great start by Ryan Parkins. He has flown off the line, taking the lead down towards turn 1. Let's keep our eye on the background, see if there's anyone. Oh, there's Amrik Sashdev, and oh wow, that looked like Carl Hazelton got in the side of him. Oh, there's contact there as well between James Cummings and Chris Bowie. They've gone around. Look back to the front though, and Mark Phillips has managed to get up into 2nd position. at the moment. He's done a great job off the line there, but that initial launch by Ryan Parkins was what made the difference there, Jack. And he's now got the lead and he's got to try and run with it. Oh, apologies everybody. Jack's just having a slight issue there. Peter, what did you make of the contact in the background? I think some of the guys were moving around a little bit unnecessarily in a straight line. What do you think?
Possibly. I didn't get such a good look on it, but it could be, you're right, it could be to do with... Oh, it's Carl Hazelton hard on the wall there, and oh my goodness me, and nearly takes Mark Bowe out with him. Oh, not a good start at all for the number 24 Porsche Centre Chester man, but Chris Bowie making his way through. I think he was caught up in that incident as well. But yes, to answer your question, I think there was, maybe a little bit of moving across in the braking zone, which is always a recipe for disaster. So let's get a look at it. Ryan Parkins gets an absolute rocket launch off the line, perfect launch, and Gavin Hall bogs down ever so slightly from pole position. So let's have a look at it then. Yeah, Carl just drives straight into the side of Amric there. Amric, the innocent party, and oh dear me, that's not a good start to the day for those guys.
No, it looked like they made a little bit of contact as well just before they went to the second camera angle that we got there as well. So maybe it was just the bounce and the correction that he was making to make sure that he kept the car as straight as possible, but managed to just lose it a little bit. Parkinson leads at the end of lap 1. Phillips second, Halls, Bathy, Sharkey, Greatorex is down in 6th place. Baxter Jones up to 7th, Ratcliffe 8th, Johnny Elia, the only guy in the top 10 that is currently where he started. Luke Holroyd rounds out your top 10 at the moment. Paul Stout has gained 5 places. Mark Bowe has gained 6 in the number 11 machine, so he's definitely benefited from that accident. Apparently Carl Hazelton's had another issue. No, actually, sorry, that was from earlier, but that's a very second-hand Porsche Cup car. He's actually manages to keep it around, though. It's almost like an open-wheel car as he goes down the straight. But this is the race leader and championship leader really making his mark at the moment. Gavin Halls, though, 3rd, and to be honest, I think that Gavin, as the race goes on here, Peter, he's going to try and make up for that as well. Hazelton's had another issue there. I think he needs to pull that in. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I would think so. I was surprised not to see Carl take that car into the pit, because remember, all of our drivers have the option of the iRacing Fast Repair, which means they can bring the car into the pit lane either under its own power or, if you need to, by using the electronic tow, which takes about a minute and a half or 2 minutes depending on where you are on circuit, and that gives you basically an instant repair where the car goes back to shiny new again. And I think that's what Carl needs. And of course, when the car's iRacing is incredibly accurate with the damage model, and when the car has significant damage, it can really affect the way it drives, with the steering being bent and or the engine having problems or whatever it might be. So yes, it is really really tricky. Let's get a look then. Oh goodness me, James Cummings just gets a little bit caught out by and scrapes down the wall there. Caught out a little bit with was that Andrew Marston in the pink pit?
It was, yeah. He just came up to him a little bit quick there, and as Andrew took a bit of a slower line through the corner than James was expecting, unfortunately, that was all it took, and you can see a big damage there to the front left of that machine. I believe we have a Werrell back with us. You there, Jack?
You do. I was seeing lots of cars in the air and then through the ground and then on the track and then back in the air again, but a quick little restart has got it all fixed, so I'm back with you. And well, it doesn't look like I've missed major amounts, but I've still been listening, and it seems like lap 1 was a bit hectic, and everybody's just got a bit of daylight between them now, and they're starting to settle into the race, because it is a 20-minute race, so still classed as a sprint race, but lap 1's still probably the most important of the race. Oh,
definitely. You need to survive, and that's the thing. These cars, when you're trying to avoid an incident and you're making sudden adjustments to your steering or your brakes, it can really pitch the car around very, very quickly. So you need to be very careful. As we look at Stuart Clark here, just chasing down Paul Stout. He sends it up the inside. Nicely done. Big commitment, but he's going to go deep. Is Paul going to manage to get the cutback? I don't think so. Paul slowed himself down quite a bit there just to make sure that he still turned it in well enough. Still trying though. A little pop and bang there as well from the exhaust. Looks great. Sounds great. But Stuart Clark has gained the position. Baxter Jones has got Ryan Ratcliffe all over the back of him here though, Peter. As Ryan tries to make his way back up the order. He's actually 1 place down from where he started.
Yep, they maybe got a little bit of an incident there in turn 1, perhaps, but yeah, making his way up the field. But good start from Mark Baxter Jones in the number 8 car. Now, I have to say, one person we are missing today is Danny Jones. We're missing the Haribo car. which is
Oh God,
that is a real shame. Yeah, kids and grown-ups do not love that. So we miss you, Danny. Looking forward to seeing you back in the championship as we head around the Tarzan Bend, which is. Well, what can you say up front? Because Ryan Parkins, he's got a perfect opportunity here because Mark Phillips has done an amazing job up in definitely having his best race of the season so far in second. But you have to think that Gavin Halls has got that slightly bit more pace than Mark in normal circumstances, and that is allowing Ryan Parkins to escape.
Yeah, it's starting to look like Gavin's going to put the pressure on Mark here. I'm excited to see what happens when he goes for a move, though. But just behind there, they've got a nice little train going on here. Carl Sharkey, Austin Greatorex, Dan Batty, they're all just waiting for something to happen. Amrik Sashdev has just got the better of Mark Searle for 16th position. But yeah, just going back to these lot, they have developed a nice little train of cars here. Austin Greatorex just at the back of this. He's 6th in the race, 2nd in the championship, though. And he's going to be looking at his relative box in the right corner of his screen, or wherever else he has it on the screen. And he's just going to see that with Parkins at the front there, Jack, as we can see someone's taken a very different line through the left-hander there. It's going to be a bit painful for him at this rate, because he can't really do anything about it at this stage, and you don't want to force the move as Mark Searle is doing a bit of sand trap digging there, maybe building a few sandcastles.
Yeah, possibly, but I see what you mean. Austin Greatorex, it will be frustrating for him. He knows he's got the pace for podiums, but it's not exactly the most friendly circuits for overtakes. Going into turn 1, you can get an overtake done if you get the run out to the final corner and maybe on the brakes going into turn 1, and obviously the camber will help you round. I think that was Dan Bathy going quite deep into turn 1, so he is clearly being distracted in his mirrors as well. But if you're a 5-car train and if they've got some sort of communication between each other, you'd be focusing, or you'd be telling them to work together and try and catch back up onto Ryan Parkins, get some pressure built on there and have a little 6-car battle for the lead. But it looks like they're going to carry on as a 5-way battle. This is Amrik Sachdev with all the mistakes he's had at the start of the race and all the shortcomings he's had. He's gone straight on at the tricky right-hander we've mentioned before, and until that point he hadn't actually lost a position even after the incident on lap 1. He gets it across the circuit again and he's still going. He's now chasing down Andrew Marston in the Pink Pig. We've also had an incident for Oliver Cowardy.
Yeah, just into the little left-hander there. He's just got it on the gravel, the car spins, and he's just got to be very careful about how to rejoin. Oh, puts it in the wall just to make sure it's out of the way. But I suppose if you don't have to pay for the damage, Peter, it's one way of showing your commitment to making sure you're out of the way, isn't it?
Yeah, that's again one of the other joys of sim racing. I can't imagine how much it costs to run one of these cars in real life. We should ask Matt Kilhenny, because his father runs one of these cars in the real world Porsche Cup GB, and they are amazing machines. Nearly 500 horsepower. I think they run about 480 horsepower from memory. 4-litre flat 6 engine mounted in the back. It's an amazing piece of kit. 6-speed sequential gearbox. I would love to have a go in one day, but they require quite a unique style of driving, of course, with the engine in the back. But the one thing, as we see here, as we ride on board with Ryan Ratcliffe, they do draft well because of that big wing on the car that you can follow quite closely and get a good draft. And you saw Ryan gather quite a few car lengths there coming down the front straight.
Yeah, he certainly did close in, but not quite enough to make a move yet. He just needs to keep it tidy on this midsection. He's not really got an answer for Mark Baxter-Jones at the moment. Austin Greatorex, as we saw, is getting closer to the back of Carl Sharkey. Caravan Carl is actually becoming the tower rather than the towee at the moment. And that tow hook not quite in use. He might end up putting it on the rear at some point soon. Gavin Halls is still only half a second. There was a very close-up shot of the car there. He's only half a second ahead of Mark Phillips, series organiser. Same with Carl as well. Oh, a slide there from Gavin Halls. Style points for that, my friend. Gets the rear out. Runs a bit deep into the left-hander because of it, but he's going to get a good run on the exit there, Jack. And while we did mention at the top of the broadcast that a lot of corners here are one line, if you know how to sort of adapt your exit of these corners, you can get a really good run out of some of them, can't you?
You really can. It's all about, hooking up the rear wheels and getting it planted before you put your foot down. We've seen lots of people get caught out with just over-rotating the car on the exit. And if you can read the car ahead and where he's placing the car, and maybe if you know he's going to get the slower exit before you even get to the corner, you can adjust your entrance and then get the better of the exit as well. And that really is key around here, because like we said, momentum isn't at a massive virtue, and we've got, like you say, 480 horsepower, which isn't exactly nothing. So it can power its way out of a corner, but if you get that better run and you keep the momentum through the twisty bits, it really will make the difference. And I think what we're looking at the moment is actually the battle for the podium. Although there is quite a bit of space between them, there's almost a second between every car that we're looking at, Gavin Halls, Mark Phillips and Dan Bathy. It's going to close back up again, as we've seen pretty much in every round. The gap will open up and then close back up, but just because people maybe make a mistake, miss an apex or something like that.
Yeah, it certainly has an accordion effect about it, that's for sure. Carl Hazelton's had another issue, I'm afraid. He's come back out. Oh, he's locked up the rears going into there. Let's see what happens here. Hopefully everyone avoids him. Yep, that's Bowie and Carwadine going around in there. Apparently he went back to the pits though, so I'm not sure whether he's had some sort of issue or whether he's just pulled it over and decided. Is he going to just disappear? Is he just going to park it? Because it says he went off. Yeah, there you go. That's going to be the end of that, unfortunately. But it's easy to get frustrated in these scenarios and just want to pull it over. He's going to obviously be looking forward to the second race tonight and hope that he can make some places through that one. Here's Austin Greatorex then, and you'll notice just behind him now, Carl Sharkey. So the two of them swapped around twice while we were looking at that. This has actually gone back to the Hazelton incident. And again, apologies about that, everybody. Here it is down the straight. Squeeze into the wall there, Peter. That's very brave stuff. Apparently they swap round again, though, so we'll keep an eye on it. Sharkey remains around the outside. Does he try and get a cutback? No, actually. It's very brave stuff from Greatorex there. That was lovely.
Yeah, good move from Austin there. Clean, safe, but decisive. Very, very good indeed as he heads down again into Tarzan Bend, turn 1. Now, we saw some of Austin's laps earlier on. He's got the pace of the guys in second and third, but it just lost the track position early on. Didn't qualify as well as he maybe normally would do, and that has cost him. So he'll need to push now in these last 8 minutes to try and get his way past Dan Bathy and Mark Phillips and try and get a few more points and hope for a bit of luck in the reverse grid race. Because Ryan Parkins, well, what can we say about Ryan? He's just been flawless, not just all race long, but all season long.
Yeah, he's done another amazing race so far, just a pull away. This is Bowie down the inside. Carwadine gives him all the room in the world, and he's fine and clear for a little moment there. Oh, it looks like Ryan Ratcliffe's gone off the circuit. He's really been pushing. I noticed that the gap had opened up to Mark Baxter-Jones. Johnny Ely has gone through. Oh, and he hits the wall as well. Whoa, nearly into the side of Luke Holroyd there. That was a scary moment there, but I mean, not to sort of speak negatively of Ryan Ratcliffe, but we've seen that he's got the pace, but there's just scrappy little moments all over the place, isn't there, Jack? There's just moments where he's not quite got it together in this series so far.
Yeah, I think that is probably the case, and it's not exactly the easiest car to drive. And well, it's been paired with a circuit, which we've said over and over again, where it's quite an undulating circuit, and it's a car which doesn't really find its place around here. But it looks like it's just that bit extra of a challenge for Ryan Ratcliffe. And like you say, he's gone well at points throughout the season. He just struggles to get the car hooked up, and whether that just be maybe nervousness, because it is something that only comes around once a week, but I'm sure he'll get it hooked up for race 2, and it's not like he's massively far down the order when you look at it, but I'm sure he'll find a battle very shortly. We're now looking at Oliver Carwadine under pressure from Chris Bowie in the number 71 car. Chris has lost 5 places from where he started, so he is on a comeback drive trying to work his way back up through the order. Oliver Carwadine is in the position he started in 14, so he'll be doing everything he can to defend, but it looked like Chris Bowie maybe got the better of the 2 runs coming out the final corner. Going down the start-finish straight, you can see the draft effect taking place as well. Oliver Carwadine placing the car in the middle of the road, doing everything he can to defend the position. Chris Bowie looking to the inside, late on the brakes. He's using all the track he can and gets his nose cut off by Oliver Carwadine. I actually don't think he did. He just pulled out of the move. Sensible driving from Chris Bowie. Decides to leave it for another corner.
Yeah, he almost, well, it actually came up that he was going into the pit lane on my software then, because he was that far over to the right, crossing the pit lane exit line. Luke Holroyd, by the way, has got the attentions of Ryan Ratcliffe all over the back of him again now. Ryan is really starting to pile the pressure on, and after that mistake earlier, Peter, he's going to be eager to get back up as he sends it down the inside.
Yeah, that's a good spot where you can really make a move count. But look at that. Luke cuts back. Is he going to have another go? No, Ryan's able to make it stick. Yeah, that's one of the places, real hot spot where you can stuff it up the inside and sort of do a bit of a block pass maneuver. I mean, really at Zandvoort, it's all about the block pass to get your move done. But of course, that slows you up, but quite a bit as well. So trying to make big moves up the field is quite a challenge. Just want to make a shout out to Chris Bowie. Of course, he's running with, as you say, the David Bowie livery there on the bonnet of the car, and of course the David Bowie Museum is in Holland, up in Groningen, up in the very far north near the Assen circuit. So that's quite apt for us being in the Netherlands today.
Only you, Peter, only you. I absolutely love that, and I'm sure everyone else appreciates this as well. Peter's information is never ending, and it's brilliant. I love it. Absolutely brilliant. I didn't even know there was a David Bowie museum, but now I want to go. Apparently my mum used to look like David Bowie, but we're not going to get into that. Oh, as Amrik Sashdev gets into Mark Searle, unfortunately, and that's... well, let's have another look here. Let's play Cluedo. Oh, to be fair, Mark does come back onto the racing line after running a bit wide, but Amrik just doesn't quite react in time, in my opinion, to the car coming back across. Paul Stout, as we were just looking at a second ago, has Mark Bowe all over the back of him. 7 places gained for Mark at the moment, so he's doing a fine job. But it's easier said than done to overtake round here, as we've seen. We ought to actually have a look at our race leader, Ryan Parkins, who, again, nice clean car, number 25. No dents on it, no scrapes, no marks. And he is flown away at the moment. He has a 2.8 second lead. Oh, Johnny Ely is off. That looks like a typical, I've put my foot down too hard on the exit there. Jack, what do you reckon?
It looks like that was probably the issue. We'll have another look back. So once again at this hairpin, does he light up the rears or does he clip the grass? Whoa, he's in the middle of the circuit, lights up the rears into the wall. You see the front bumper crumple a little bit, keeps the momentum going backwards and manages to get back on the circuit. We're now looking at Mark Bowe, seeing what he can do about going around the outside of Paul Stout. Paul Stout goes very deep through the gravel, gets he slowed down before he gets onto the race circuit once again. So clever driving from Paul Stout. Oh, and he's into the wall as well. It seems like that is the issue. We said it at the start, that there is grass runoff going around this Zandvoort circuit. Just the walls are much closer. We're now looking at the riding on board with Mark Bowe to see what happened. Let's see whether he saw Paul Stout last minute. He did. That must have been very scary aboard that number 11 Porsche 911 Cup car. But yeah, we said it earlier that there is grass runoff, but there's only a couple of feet of it before you even get to wall. So there's not much you can do. If you hit the grass or you lose the rear of the car, you haven't got much time to really get the moment up. And we're now looking at Chris Bowie once again coming back at Oliver Carwadine.
These guys are never ending, honestly. It's just constantly on it. Chris Bowie a bit later on the brakes this time, almost goes in the pits again. Carwadine, another response for it, and this time he's a little bit out of shape on the exit, and again he's let out the rears. Don't hit James Cummings. Oh, there you go. And unfortunately, I think that's going to be the last attempt that Chris Bowie is going to have at getting past Oliver Carwadine in this race. And James Cummings in the Chrome machine is probably thinking, all right, okay, my go now. I'll see whether I can get it done. It's still close for third place, by the way, here, Peter, actually. Mark Phillips has now got Dan Bathy all over the back of him.
Yes, he does indeed. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this might be... I'm just going to check my notes. This might be the first podium finish, potentially, for Mark Phillips as well. So this would be cool for him. But Dan Bathy in the 91 car with that silver firm, the New Zealand silver firm down the side of it. Whoa, he's close. He's in the draft now. He's close enough. We might be getting the white flag next time around, so he's going to have to make it count. Late on the brakes into Tarzan Bend, down to probably second gear, keeping it nice and steady, and then back on the gas, using all that rear-engined layout of the 911 Cup car, using all that traction that it gives. So typically Porsche 911 there, as Mark goes very defensive, but he runs a bit wide, but he cuts it back.
Boys, really putting on a good chase at the moment. Dan Bathy, you can see just how hard he's working. You can see the gaps, everybody, on the left-hand side of your screen. They're live intervals between everyone. The yellow and the orange ones, it goes yellow basically when it's under a second, orange when it's under half a second, and it's black with everything else. It will go red when they're very close together. I believe it's when they're within 0.2. But you can see at the moment, closest battles on track are between these guys, Carwadine and Cummings, and Marston and Sashdev a little bit further down. But Dan Bathy's trying everything. Mark Phillips covers the inside line. But this is the thing now, Jack. We're visually seeing that Mark Phillips knows he's under pressure now. It's going to be go time for him with one more lap. Although, actually, I believe, no, we're going to get the white flag now, and it's going to be the final lap of the race this time round. So it really is go time for Dan Bathy.
It really is. You can see how close he is now, just still about 0.3 away, and the only time I think he's really going to get any sort of overtaking opportunities if he nails this right-hander and then the next double apex for the final corner. In theory, it is all one corner because it flows so nicely. But ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Parkins led from lights to flag. Big incident in the background, but Ryan Parkins crossed the line and wins round 9 at Zandvoort. That was a massive incident
Dan Bathy
between
gets
Gavin
the podium.
Halls.
Dan
It
Bathy
was
gets
that.
it.
That was Gavin Halls and Sachdev, and I'm not sure who else was involved. But after all of that, Dan Bathy and Mark Phillips both get a podium. Gavin Halls reverses over the line. We'll have another look back. What do you see, Chaz?
Gavin Halls. Oh, to be fair, it was Gavin that lost it. Gavin actually. I was going to sort of assume here that Sachdev and Marston came together, but it was actually Gavin Halls that was the one that made the incident happen. Let's have a look here. So he's going down the inside of it, or loses it on the curb. Car's out of shape, wobbles and into him, and it's. So there's not really a massive amount he could have done. I mean, they all do a good job not to get in the way of the other guys, but to be honest, Peter, what do you reckon? I mean, it's such a shame to see it end like that for Gavin Halls, really, isn't it?
It is a pity. It's kind of been typical of his season, to be honest. But you've got to love the presence of mind to just jam it into reverse and then do the entire length of, the front straight in reverse. Fantastic stuff. Now, it looked to me, the way I saw that one is that just coming through the Ari Lewandijk bend, he basically got blocked in behind Andrew Marston, who was going a little bit slower on the inside line. I think that caught him out, and we put one wheel on the grass, and that just then put him into a bit of a spin, and then that then collected the two cars beside him. So just a bit unlucky, really, a bit of a racing incident. He basically had to actually almost go into the grass to try and avoid Andrew, and then, of course, as we know, on iRacing particularly, the grass is just like driving on snow. So pretty unlucky, but I have to say, full points for entertainment with the reversing down the front straight over the line. That was very good.
Yeah, keeping it light after an incident like that. I've just come back here to this shot now with Oliver Carwadine and James Cummings on their final lap. They actually crossed the line less than 1/10 of a second apart. So I think James Cummings, we're going to see him here start to really close on the back of Oliver Carwadine before this race is up. It was 81 thousandths of a second at the line. So let's just see what James does here, whether Oliver makes it a little bit wide. Maybe the incident in front may have slowed them down, but James just gets a demon run out of there, doesn't he? Hugs the inside. Look at that. Great run out the final corner, and it's just not going to be enough. And actually, Oliver gets out of the way, but just as they go to the line, only just beats him as well. Wow. Very, very close stuff between those pair. But here are your race results then. Ryan Parkins takes the win. 4.6 seconds ahead of Mark Phillips, who gets his first podium. Dan Bathy rounds out the podium. Austin Greatorex 4th. Carl Sharkey finishing in 5th. Gavin Halls manages to recover to 6th place after that incident, just at the end I should say. Mark Baxter-Jones finishes 7th, good result for him. Ryan Ratcliffe managed to get the better of Luke Holroyd partway through, as we saw. Stuart Clark finishes in 10th. Then we have Johnny Elia in 11th with Mark Bowe. Great drive from him actually, 8 places gained to finish in 12th. Paul Stout finishes in 13th, Oliver Carwadine 14th, with James Cummings in 15th and Chris Bowie in 16th place. Amrik Sachdev and Mark Searle were 1 lap down. And the same is said for Andrew Marston, with Carl Hazelton 7 laps down, and Angus Archer did not take the start in that one. So, a lively first race of the evening. I always do this, don't I, everyone? Afternoon for us here on Simracersworld TV in the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing Series. I'll get it out one way or another. We will be back with you in about 10 minutes' time then for the second race of the afternoon. And with a reverse grid on our hands, it's bound to be an absolute belter. Don't go away. We'll be back very soon.
nights when we were younger, and we would never sleep. So let's forget about tomorrow and live for tonight while we're free. Touch the sky. Tonight we're coming alive. Touch the sky. Tonight we're coming alive. From the dust we will awaken, and life will fill our veins. But these are the moments that we live for. I can keep it inside of me. Touch the sky. Tonight we're coming alive. Touch the sky. Tonight we're coming alive.
We're just getting into the next session now then, everybody. We hope you enjoyed that first race of the afternoon. Myself, Chaz Draycott, Jack Werrell and Peter MacKay will be back with you in, give it about 5 minutes time, and we should be in the session and all ready to go. See you in a few. Welcome back, everybody, to Simracersworld TV and the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing Series. Chaz Draycott here with Jack Werrell and Peter MacKay in the box with me as well for another brilliant round of the championship, second race of the afternoon. And well, after a very, very exciting first race, look at what we've got here for you. We have evening lighting here at Zandvoort. The headlights are on. The drivers are going to be adapting to it, and wow, things look pretty, don't they, Jack?
They really do, and I think I don't know, I'm just taken back by it. I've always said that this Porsche 911 Cup car is the best looking car on iRacing, without a doubt. Like, you can take photos of it and the thing looks real. And just with this evening lighting and the chrome cars like we're looking at the moment, it just looks so good. And we haven't got long till race 2 either. I think it's only about 5 minutes before the session gets advanced for racing, which means we're probably going to be having a 6 o'clock in sim time. So it's only going to get darker, which I think it could also be a challenge for everybody, because like you say, they've got to get used to it. They've just been on a very hot track racing door to door, and now they're on a cooling track, so the track will be grippier. And yes, that'll give you that extra bit of confidence within the car, but you don't want to push yourself too hard, because we've seen what it does in race 1.
And with the conditions being cooler, it's going to be a bit of a step into the unknown for some of these guys here, isn't it, Peter? Because I'm pretty sure that not all of these lot would have been practicing in conditions like this.
No, it's quite unusual conditions. Normally, well, certainly when I'm practicing, I always try and put it kind of on the hottest conditions to try and kind of give it the best challenge, and then anything cooler than that is a bit of a bonus. So yeah, for our viewers, that when the track gets cooler, what that means is that it basically gives a nicer temperature for the tyres to operate in. When the track gets very hot, it basically makes the track very greasy, and the tyre gets too hot and basically slides over the surface. So it makes it very, very tricky, and you can see big differences in lap time, sometimes multiple seconds, based only on the track temperature. I have to say, I was commentating on the virtual Indy 500 a week or two ago in the Lionheart series, and that was it was about 40 cars, and each driver had to go out and do their, there were basically 40 cars in a row, and they had to do it one at a time, and the track temperature kept going up, and even though some of the faster drivers in the championship were later, they had virtually no chance at all to get anywhere near the top, and that was all to do with track temperature. So as you guys rightly say, as we come here with the sun setting on the Dutch coast, I mean, yeah, it's gorgeous, and also it's going to make these cars come alive during the race.
And tyre management may not be such an issue as well. We've seen a lot of these guys have issues towards the end of the race where the tyres start to go away, even when the rears do as well. You spin them up one too many times coming out of a corner, you just lose all confidence to get the traction down from then on. So I reckon we're going to see some good stuff in this one. A lot of confidence from these guys. Here's Amrit Sashdev, who we saw have a big incident at the end of that race with, I believe it was Andrew Marston in the 111. Gavin Halls, of course, losing out and ending up 6th, but the reverse grid should help some of these guys. You can see Carl Sharkey's livery. It's all glossy and lovely on the white section, and the matte black on the rear as well, using the spec maps on iRacing to full effect. For those that don't know what a spec map is, basically when you make the liveries on iRacing, we'll show you as well on Dan Bathy's car here, you have the ability to add sort of textures to it, so you can choose which bits are glossy, which bits are metallic and matte, and you can sort of mix and match all these different sort of aspects of it using an RGB colour code, and it's a really great feature they've come out with, and it makes these cars look absolutely spot on in most circumstances. I mean, James Cummings you've seen here as well, he's got a matte roof, all the stickers and everything are in gloss and matte, so you can still read them, but the majority of the livery is still chrome as well, so it works really well once you get a good spec map on these cars. I mean, it can bring a livery alive, can't it, Jack? I mean, we've seen cars in other series where they'll just be a flat colour, like an orange or a yellow, and you'll think, yeah, it's still quite nice, but then as soon as you put a spec map on it and those bits are metallic and you've got like a matte black base, it just really brings it alive. I mean, I'm sure you know which car I'm referring to, don't you?
Yeah, probably one of my favourite liveries on iRacing ever. Yeah, specifically the Flemish Sim Sports car, that is one of the most beautiful liveries I've ever seen, and I think that is just paid due to the spec map. And sometimes if the livery is incorrectly loaded and the spec map doesn't show up on the car, it doesn't look as great. but it just, yeah, if you put in the time and the attention to detail, and well, I think that is the key, attention to detail. You make the car look spot on, and you're going to get brownie points from us, definitely. And at the end of the day, we all know a good looking livery makes you go faster.
And I think that was the case with Mark Phillips in race 1. I mean, look at his car. It's a beautiful metallic pattern on here. Obviously, quite an iconic pattern as well, isn't it, Peter? It certainly brings that car alive, but the metallic effect on it just makes it look all that bit better.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of the Dempsey Proton Porsches that we see at Le Mans in the GT AM category, of course. And if you're wondering, Dempsey, is that Patrick Dempsey? It is indeed Patrick Dempsey, the team owner of Dempsey Proton Racing, who have had a lot of success at Le Mans 24 Hours in the GTE AM category. And yes, that sort of diamond triangular pattern that we see on Mark Phillips' car here is fantastic. What we also see on the cars, you'll see the Pirelli logos dotted around the car as well. And of course, Pirelli are a major sponsor of Porsche Club of Great Britain's racing activities and have been a long-time supporter of the club. And of course, as we get ready to go back to Real World Porsche Club Great Britain, Real World Porsche Club of Great Britain racing, of course, Pirelli will be back as well. So if you're ready to get your Porsche back out of the garage and take it out on the country roads, get down to your local Pirelli Performance Centre and get them to fit a new pair of shiny boots on there, because there's nothing that makes it more of a difference to a car than a good set of tyres.
I'm sure that Stuart Clark will be feeling that when he gets that thing off the gravel and back onto the black stuff, because he'll probably need some new tyres after that. Here's Paul Stout in the very bright Manthey Racing livery. And it looks brilliant on that thing as well. And it certainly does still stand out at night as well, but we've got the headlights on. The chrome wheels are out in force as well on that thing, and it certainly does look good. It just sort of really nails home how well iRacing have done over the last sort of 2 years to really get the lighting and the day-night transition and all the reflections and shadows and things. They've put in a hell of a lot of work to make sure it looks right, and everything looks a lot more natural now and a lot more pretty than it did go back, say, 24 months. So we're very grateful, of course, to be able to bring you this as well on Simracersworld TV using the iRacing platform. And iRacing's partnership with Porsche as well, getting ever better. Look at that from Ryan Parkins, a 39.0. It's just a disgusting lap time in it, Jack. That just shows you the temperature difference, doesn't it?
It really does, and we were saying at the start of race 1 that a 38 wouldn't be too far away, and it looks like Parkins has set his sights on that. He's literally 300ths of a second away from a 38, pardon me. Yeah, a 38, a 1 minute 38 would be crazy quick, and he's already gone 1.5 seconds quicker than Dan Bathy just in this practice session, and he's done it very, very late on as well, because I think Luke Holroyd said that it will be like pushed forward very early on. I don't think we'll get to the end of this 20-minute practice session, and I think it's just going to get, like I said, advanced to the race session any moment now. So I think the drivers might still be in the dark about this as well, and they're just squeezing in every bit of practice they can get, because we know that it is obviously limited practice sessions before the race, but then, well, during the race, every minute of practice will really help, because we've seen how unforgiving this circuit is, and well, how unforgiving the cars are as well. And if you know something anybody else does, it will give you that extra little upper hand, and it seems like Ryan Parkins has got that at the moment over everybody else.
And it's a testament as well to the realism of iRacing and the changing conditions on these tracks. Like, you can see that the guys do have to get out there and really get on with some warm-up before it all kicks off. So I think it just shows you that they need this practice. Here's your grid then. Carl Hazelton, pole position for him, ahead of Andrew Marston. Then we have Mark Searle, Amrik Sashdev, Chris Bowie, James Cummings, Oliver Carwadine, Paul Stout, Mark Bowe and Johnny Elia rounding out your top 10. We're then going to have Stuart Clark, Luke Holroyd, Ryan Ratcliffe, Baxter Jones, Halls, Sharkey, Greater X, Dan Bathy, Mark Phillips, and race 1 winner Ryan Parkins will line up at the back of the grid. We're just going to give the overlay a quick little reload for you there, everybody, so you'll just see it pop back onto the screen. And round 10 of the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing Series from Circuit Zandvoort is away, and let's see who uses the launch control. James Cummings got a bit of a wobble on there, and he's actually lost a few places already. He's bunching up in the middle, a bit of contact there between Stout and Cummings near the back. At the front, Sashdev tries to go around the outside of Carl Hazelton. Really brave stuff, but he's not going to make that work. Stuart Clark has lost a couple of places in the middle as well, but it looks like everyone's behaved themselves so far, Peter. As we go into the second and third corners, it's really bunching up. Let's have a look. Oh, Baxter Jones. Oh, Hazelton's off. Marston's in the road. Halls has gone into him. And Dan Bathy back on into Greater X as well. Oh, we've come to sort of expect this from race 2s at the moment. Dan Bathy's around as well. Sashdev still leading the race though, and Mark Bowe and Ryan Ratcliffe are behind. This is Ryan's chance to get some good points here, but yeah, a bit of chaos again at the start of race 2 there, Peter.
Yeah, that is very, very tight there. As you say, all one line coming in there. So it starts off with Andrew Marston getting into the wall and comes across the track, which does cause a bit of a problem. Gavin Halls ploughs into him, nowhere to go. Now, I want to talk about our championship leader, number 25, Ryan Parkins. If you watched him going back into turn 1, he stood right back, coming off the line. So if you see that, it goes right, he just hangs back, and look how slow he goes here, but look at that, he's just picking his way through, staying out of trouble, doesn't take any chances, knows, and he, look at that, gets through there with absolutely no mark on. Austin Greater X exactly the same. Now Austin was a bit braver into turn 1 and really kind of got his elbows out into turn 1 and was able to get through, but Ryan, look at that, he's just hanging off at the back, and into turn 1 he probably gave 3 or 4 car lengths to the car in second last position while he was in last position. So that's what he's been doing in these reverse grid race, to make sure he just takes his time, lets the carnage happen in front of him, and then slowly pick his way through the field throughout the race. And actually it was Carbadine who gave Andrew Marston a big help there into the wall. Carl Hazelton off as well. So yeah, if you want to know why Ryan Parkins is championship leader, bit of contact for Austin Greater X there too. So yeah, that's why Ryan Parkins is doing so well in this championship.
And Hazelton actually lost it from the lead as well and managed to put the car in the middle. We'll stop looking at that there, as he's Austin Greater X has actually come in the pit lane as well after further contact. I think it might have been to do with the damage. But Sashdev still leading the race from Mark Bowe. And he's got Johnny Elia behind him now. Carl Sharkey is in 4th. And where has Ryan Ratcliffe gone? Ryan Ratcliffe has dropped down to 13th place. So something has definitely gone awry for him there. We'll have a look back at this. It's going to be a bit of a race of replays here. This is the battle for the lead between these guys. Oh, he's just done it himself. Such a nightmare there. But Greater X has had an issue here, Jack.
Yeah, this is going through the final section by the looks of it. He's on the grass, loses all that front grip that he had into the wall. Quite a big side impact, and then into the tyre barrier as well, which, as you can see, crumples the front of the car rather a lot. He goes into the pits and gets a new car by the looks of it, but we're now looking at Amrik Sak. They're doing everything he can to defend from Mark Bowe, but it doesn't look like he's going to put up that much of a challenge into the braking area for the very tight right-hander, which leads into the left. He's gone quite deep as well, so he looks like he's going to lose out to Johnny Elia as well, side by side, somewhere you don't really want to go side by side. I think that was Amrik Sak there, maybe cutting across the nose of Johnny Elia, but someone that made the most of all that is Carl Sharkey, because he's promoted himself from P4 to P2.
Yep, Carl Sharkey straight up there then. And Stuart Clark also sneaked through. You can just see Ryan Parkins just behind these guys with Mark Phillips and Gavin Halls in there as well. Gavin wants to make up for race 1. Look at the lighting conditions there. It looks absolutely stunning. Parkins is on the move, trying to get past Amrik Sashdev. Look at that, Mark Bowe 42.9 in the race lead. What a great lap from him. Carl Sharkey just 1.8 seconds back. Paul Stout, you may have seen as well in the background, did lose out there. He's in a battle now, trying to go down the inside of Luke Holroyd into turn 1. Bit late on the brakes, runs wide, makes contact. Oh, Luke gets shoulder barged out of the way. Dan Bathy's done a 141.1 on his way back up the order. That is insanely fast, Peter.
Yeah, very impressive, especially with so much going on around him. But look at Ryan Parkins in the number 25. He's now behind the 23 of Stuart Clark, already up to 5th position, and through all of that, not a mark on the car. But look also, Mark Phillips, who's having a fantastic day here today at Zandvoort. Very much his best day of the season, as Amrik Sashdev goes wide. Very easy done there through that very fast right-hander. But yeah, with Ryan taking it relatively gingerly through, keeping it safe through the pack, Mark has been able to sort of follow him through. So that is that's worked really, really well for Mark Phillips in the number 17 car. So the Bernie Eccleston of Porsche Club Great Britain Sim Racing will be very happy with his day's work so far.
I like that. Bernie Phillips himself, but you can see this battle going on in front as well, and he's probably maybe just assessing what Ryan Parkins is doing, just seeing where the best place is to overtake, where you can gain and lose time on people. He's all over the back of Stuart Clark at the moment, trying to find his way through. You can see the lighting, absolutely gorgeous in this final round. We're going to get some great reflections off the sides of the cars as well as they go around here now towards turn 1. Look at that, absolutely stunning shot of these things going down the straight. But looks like Parkins is going to get the move done just in front of us there, down the inside of Stuart Clark. Phillips wants in on this as well, actually. He's putting his nose down the inside, not quite there. Carl Sharkey, 140.9 around here. So he's done a good lap as well. All this time, though, the field is just sorting itself out, really, isn't it, Jack? And that's the thing with these feature races. We get a lot of fun watching these guys sort of all mingle a little bit with drivers they wouldn't be against in the first race due to qualifying.
Yeah, I think that is one of the key bits. You're always going to end up with a battle that you maybe weren't expecting. We're now looking at James Cummings on the tail end of Ryan Ratcliffe. We've got to remember that Ryan was battling for the lead at one point, made the mistake, dropped right the way back to P14, and he's now up to P10. So he's working his way up the order, and James Cummings might not have expected that, so he's had a nice little battle with a potential leader. And I was just looking at where our leaders are at the moment. Ryan Parkins has promoted himself onto a podium spot now, up all the way into P3. So Ryan Parkins, the championship leader, is only going to extend it at this point because Austin Greatorex, the closest rival and someone that was hoping for a good result this weekend, is right the way down in P19 at the moment. The two people that are going to be rubbing their hands together, though, are the people who are third and fourth in the championship. That's Carl Sharkey and Mark Phillips, because they're going to get a nice haul of points and maybe start to rein in Greatorex.
It's very true indeed. And Carl Sharkey will be going after Mark Bowe. The gap was 1.8 seconds not too long ago. It's now down to 1.2 between these pair. We'll show you on the bottom right of your screen. You can see it live as well to the nearest thousandth of a second. Just trying to drag it down. You can see very, very static as they go down the straight, gaining a couple of thousandths, but behind him is Ryan Parkins trying to just reel him in bit by bit. 39.8 for Ryan Parkins. That is qualifying pace. There's no other word for it. Flying around at the moment. Everyone's doing 140s, 141s. Luke Holroyd and Carl Hazelton are close together. Oh, was Chris Bowie. Oh, he's had an absolute nightmare there. The power of Ziggy Stardust compels you. But he's not managed to recover it and save his position, I'm afraid, as Paul Stout has gone through. But it's close here again, Peter. These guys, they don't care if it's for a top 5 or a top 10. They're going for it, aren't they?
Yeah, and Gavin Halls is there, but once again, he's got a lot of damage on that Harrods car, so he'd really be struggling to basically deploy his full pace that he's capable of out of that number 38 machine. But Mark Phillips looking up the inside, he's going to stuff it up the inside of Stuart Clark there. Can he make it stick? No, decides to back out of it. That's one of our dive bomb positions here at Zandvoort, and here's another one, and he's going to stuff it up the inside with a block pass. Can he make it stick?
Nice.
Oh, yes, he can. Good move there from Mark Phillips, but just that couple of laps behind Stuart Clark, that's allowed Ryan Parkins, who, look at that, he's a good bit up the road now, a good couple of seconds up the road. But still, for Mark Phillips, a really, really good day at the office. Second in race 1, and currently sitting in 5th right now. Now, for Carl Sharkey, Jack, you make a great point about the championship, because with Austin looked to score not very much points at all, Carl could actually, I need to check the points, but I think he might, with a good result here, he might actually be able to leapfrog into second place.
I think that will be interesting to see. Obviously, going into the final few rounds of the season, in theory, we've only got 6 rounds left. Next round, for rounds 11 and 12, we go to Silverstone. So I think that might play into the hands of a couple of the drivers that are quick around here, because it can be quite a tight and twisty circuit when it wants to be. And on the straights, like we mentioned earlier, the draft really will play an effect. But we're now looking at Parkins once again mounting an attack on Carl Sharkey. So Ryan, not content with 3rd position, he's gained 17 positions from where he started. You've got to remember, he started at the very last spot on the grid with the reverse grid from race 1. And one thing Ryan Parkins won't be hoping for is that he slows himself down battling Carl Sharkey, because Mark Bowe will just disappear into the distance.
And to be fair, the gap has actually evened out between the 3 of them now. Carl Sharkey gained a little bit of time on Ryan Parkins, but he's also catching up to Mark Bowe bit by bit as well. So I think we're going to see this trio become ever closer before Ryan Parkins tries to make the move, because he will be sitting there thinking now, let's just close up to the back of Mark Bowe, and when you two have a fight, I'm just going to stick it down the inside, or I'm just going to try and take advantage of whatever you guys are doing. We'll stick with him for just a minute. You can see the gap visually disappearing now. Mark Bowe is going to be driving in his mirrors. He's going to be summoning all of his concentration at this point, and it's going to be difficult for him to get every single apex right. They all take plenty of curb there through the right-hander. Don't let it run too wide, because that curb very quickly becomes grass round the final corner. Look at Ryan Parkins here. He's got it set up so well. Don't forget, though, everyone's on an equal setup. Johnny Elia has gone off the circuit in the background. We'll come back and have a look at that in a sec, though. Actually, we'll have a look at it now. Let's have a little check. What do you see, Peter?
So it's coming round Harry Lowndyke bend, and oh my word, that was close to taking out Mark Phillips. Would have been such a shame after such a good race there. You're just trying to take every last bit of room there on the exit. As Gavin Halls take a big look up the inside there, but it's going to get the switchback for Mark Phillips here. Oh, nearly contact, very, very nearly contact. So Gavin's been, well, obviously our pole sitter in qualifying, and they're side by side as they head up the straight here, which is just a left, right, but flat out all the way along here, and then up to 5th gear, then probably back to 4th gear here, coming around the right-hander of Shivlak, heading toward the Mastersbocht.
Well, it was close, but no cigar for Gavin Halls at the moment. We're just going to have a quick look back at the leaders, but interestingly enough, that Johnny Elia accident, just as I mentioned, don't let the car run wide because it very quickly becomes grass where that curb is. He goes around, and the Chaz curse has struck again. Stuart Clark has gone off the circuit and lost a few places while I wasn't looking. Gavin Hall's involved as well, actually. I think these guys have had some contact. Let's have a little look here, Jack. What's happened?
So this is going into the almost, very tight but wide right-hander, and they both go for the same piece of tarmac. Stuart Clark was on the inside, so he didn't really have anywhere to go, and whether that was just unsighted from Gavin Halls, and there's more contact there as well with James Cummings, I believe.
Yeah.
But Ryan Parkins is still there. You can still see the gap between those three, Mark Bowe, Carl Sharkey and Ryan Parkins. This is a battle for where you decide to finish on the podium. Look at Carl Sharkey now in the draft of Mark Bowe. He has a look to the inside, maybe just to add that extra little bit of pressure, showing him that he's there. In his mirrors, Ryan Parkins looking to go the long way round at turn 1. It's not going to make it work. He used the camber there. You could see the car find that mid-corner grip, and now going through the very tight, twisty sector 1. I'm not quite sure there is any sort of overtaking opportunity here, but Peter did make a good little mention earlier of how this corner can open up a little opportunity with a cutback. If you over-rotate the car on exit, it will leave you vulnerable down this, well, what really isn't a straight, but in theory it is, because you're flat out for a hell of a lot of it.
Yeah, I did quite like that comment, actually, Peter. It's a straight, but it's right, left, right, left. I like that. Amrik Sashdev.
Don't quote me on that one.
Amrik Sashdev's just had a little issue here. Is he going to come to strife with Luke Holroyd? No, he's going to come to strife with himself, unfortunately. Chucks it at the scenery. Into the gravel, and it goes around. Ryan Ratcliffe's also just had a moment here. I believe Andrew Marston's also gone off. Sorry about this, everybody. It's flicking to the wrong thing. Again, on the brakes into there. We've seen these cars over-rotate a lot when they're going slowly around like that, and it can be a real nightmare. Ratcliffe's still 7th, though, so he's doing fine to not lose a lot of places from it. But I must say, Mark Bowe, great defensive drive so far in this race lead. Carl Sharkey has been kept at bay well and truly, and Ryan Parkins, I think he's just playing the safe game here. He doesn't really want to push too much in terms of the championship. You can see Carl Sharkey, Caravan Carl as he's known, is moving around a lot. Now Ryan Parkins is on the back of him. He's probably thinking, right, no more safety, no more Mr. Nice Guy. I'm going to get the run and I'm going to get past you. Let's see what he can do then. Down the straight. If he's not flat out, I'd be surprised. Carl looks to the inside. He wants to go defensive and also show Mark Bowe his nose just to say, I'm still here. Ryan Parkins tries to carry it around the outside. Is he going to get that done? There's a left-hander coming up after this. There is still an overlap. Carl doesn't give him all the room in the world, and there's contact. They somehow both manage to keep it pointing the right way. Do they? Do they? Mark Phillips comes through as well, and somehow, I mean, Ryan Parkins still gets second place out of it, but well, I'm going to say it. I think Carl didn't really leave him the room there, Jack.
No, it looks like Carl, left in very, very minimal room, and like you say, there was a bit of a left-hander as well, so Ryan had to come back towards the centre of the circuit just to make sure he could get round there, and I've got to say, I think Ryan Parkins was going to get that on merit, but that means he's dropped, well, he went up to P2, and now he's gone right the way back down to P3 again, so I'm not sure what's happened there, so I'm sure Mark Phillips is just as confused as I am.
It looks like he gave the place back, in all honesty. I think he didn't want to get the position via contact, but in all honesty, it wasn't his fault the contact happened, from my opinion anyway. It just looked like Carl didn't really give him the room. Let's have a quick look then. We'll have another look at it actually. Peter, what do you reckon on this one, mate? Do you think that Carl just didn't leave him the room on exit?
Well, it's hard to say really, to be honest. We'll get a good look of it here with the blimp camera. Yeah, probably just moved across there. I mean, he was taking his the line for the next corner. He was ahead. Ryan was there. There's not a great deal that Ryan could have done. The only thing Ryan maybe could have done there was back out of it, but it's easy for us to say up here in the commentary box. We saw I don't know if you guys remember in the British Touring Car Championship last year at Knockhill in race 1 with Rory Butcher and Andrew Jordan battling away and coming up the back straight. Andrew basically squeezed Rory straight towards the grass, but I asked Rory about it a month or two later and he said, no, Andrew was in the lead. I had nothing else to do but back off. So it depends on who you speak to, but here goes Ryan Parkins. That might have... As you guys rightly said, Ryan was probably backing off there and just waiting for his opportunity, but I suspect he might be a little bit more aggressive now after that one.
Yeah, he maybe just say, right, okay, you've had your chance now, Carl. You've sort of put us both in the wall, but we got away with it. Let's just see what happens now when I try it again. But all this time, though, don't forget, Mark Bowe, he's off in the distance. He's loving this. He's on his way to what I believe will be his first win in the championship. There's not been many race winners this season, so he's going to be overly chuffed with this if he can keep that. He's got 3.5 minutes. Quick maths here with Chaz. Left to go. Mark Phillips is sat there in 4th. Mark Baxter Jones as well. He's had a really good race meeting so far. He's in 5th place for this one. I believe he was top 5 in race 1, or was he 6th? He was right up there though in the top 10. Dan Bathy behind him as well. More points for him. Ryan Ratcliffe is 7th. Gavin Hall's 8th, James Cummings 9th, and Stuart Clark in 10th place. But this is the closest battle on track now between these top few here, Jack, and whether it'll come to tears or not, I'm not sure, but they're certainly giving us a good show here as they close back in on Mark Bowe already.
Yeah, it's almost like they do the reverse of what you expect. When two cars are battling, you expect them to lose time to the car they're chasing, but they only seem to gain it. But what is different about this time they've gained on Mark Bowe is that Mark Phillips is being dragged along with them. And we were just speaking about Dan Bathy and Ryan Ratcliffe, and I think the replay changed just a little too soon. But that incident for Ryan Ratcliffe very early on, I think, or just a little earlier on, I think Dan Bathy was very, very close to losing out altogether because he almost T-boned Ryan Ratcliffe. But now look at Ryan Parkins. He's really, really being aggressive. Like what Peter says, he wasn't going to be as patient this time by, and you can see him jinking left and right, doing everything he can just to see whether he can get by, but he can't quite get the move done in Sector 1, which is not what we'd expect anyway. But going into Sector 2 and Sector 3, where Ryan Parkins seemed to have the car hooked up better than anybody else, I'm expecting the move for P2 to happen this lap.
And of course, there's not too long left of this race to go before he needs to get it done. He'll be happy because he's still at least going to finish ahead of most of his championship contenders. Carl Sharkey is up there, but if he finishes right behind him, he's not got too much of a deficit to worry about. Andrew Marston there in the pink pig, just getting out of the way. Nicely done by Andrew, good awareness. But yeah, like you say, Ryan Parkins is trying everything now on Carl Sharkey, and Carl is getting a little bit defensive here, so Mark Bowe, this is just getting easier and easier for him, but he just needs to make sure he keeps hitting his apexes, keeps the car nice and tidy. Look at this attack though. I tell you what though, Peter, if you were Carl Sharkey right now, you'd be absolutely bricking it, wouldn't you?
Well, he's driving incredibly well, actually, I have to be honest. I think it was just a small racing incident there, which kind of looked worse than it was a couple of laps ago. And we've seen Carl do this before, you know, in the 12 Hours of Snetterton solo endurance race. He kept Austin Greatorex behind them for what felt like forever with some brilliant defensive driving. So yeah, this is his speciality for sure. But look at this, Ryan Parkins is in the draft of Caravan Carl himself, as moves about in the brakes. That's a wee bit cheeky as well. But Ryan Parkins going to go try round the outside now. Is he going to try again into the Hulgenholzbach, which is the really, really tight first gear left-hand hairpin that we're just coming up to now? But the good thing is that if you're Carl Sharkey, you can take the very, very tight line and just sort of hook it around that hairpin and not lose much time at all. So it's a good place to defend there if you're the car in front. But I want to talk about Mark Bowe in the lead. He, as you said, I don't think he's won this season yet, so he's going to be looking in his mirror thinking, oh, come on, where's the checkered flag? And that's definitely causing him to slow his pace. So especially when you see people like Ryan Parkins in your mirror, that's not what you want to see when you're trying to get your first win. Definitely not, but this is going to be the final lap of the race now then. 15, well, by the time I've said it, 10 seconds left on the timer in the top left of your screen. Mark Bowe is going to be feeling the pressure now, only 0.4 of a second. He hugs it to the inside. He's just going to be doing everything he can. And of course, Sharkey mirrors that as well. So does Parkins, so does Phillips. These four all together then in these last couple of corners, coming into the final section of the lap now then. They've got a right and a left, and then a right, and then another right, and then that's it. But it sounds simple for me to say. Let's see what they do then. Carl Sharkey, little lock of the front left there. Mark Bowe keeps it nice and tidy. Parkins looks like he gets a good run out of there. Are we going to see any last chance saloon moves? We've got top 6 together because we've got Baxter Jones and Dan Bathy coming in there as well.
Parkins looks down the inside into the final corner. He's not quite got the overlap yet. Mark Bow is still in the lead, but we've seen stranger things happen with people getting the slipstream, but it's going to be Mark Bow taking round 10 of the championship. Brilliant drive, great defensive from Carl Sharkey as well. Parkins third, Phillips fourth, Baxter Jones and Dan Bathy just behind them. Wow, what a race we were treated to there, Jack. What a finale, and brilliant respective stuff between all of them.
It really was, and it's a great little championship, a great little series that we've got going on. It just reminds you of the real thing, and the race still isn't over. We've got Luke Holroyd just about to cross the line in P13 in the second of the Porsche Cup Cars. Crosses the line now to take P13. Here's Johnny Elia coming around the final corner to cross the line in P16 just about. You saw Carl Hazelton have a little look, but with that damage I don't think he had much of a chance. But yeah, it really just reminds you of almost the real championships, because they are just that close as well. And I think we can even give them a run for their money, because we can almost race closer because we don't have to worry about damage. And it's just adding to the list of amazing races we've had this season.
Definitely have, as Johnny Elia does his best pinball impression there. You can see some of the guys just slowing down, having a bit of fun on these slow down laps. And that's one of the beauties of this as well. You don't have to pay for the tyres. Wow, Baxter Jones having, well, there you go. Speaking of not having to pay for it, flipping out, he's taking that to the extreme. Let's have a look at what happened here. Has he just full throttled it into the wall? It was a very clean Porsche before that point. Is he? Oh yeah, he avoids parking to stationary car and bang, through the air. There you go. That's what it looks like when it's upside down in the air, and hopefully we don't have to see that in real life, because luckily the sim racing world can do that for us. We're just waiting for a couple more cars to actually finish the race here. Mark Sill just coming around the final corner. He's going to be the last car across the line, and it will trigger the results screen for everybody. He finishes 19th there in the 777 machine. But wow, I tell you what, I am very excited after that one. I'm going to have to wait for quite a bit this afternoon for my heart rate to go down, because that was a lot of fun. Mark Bow takes his first win in the Porsche Club GB Sim Racing Series from Carl Sharkey in second, Ryan Parkins third, and Mark Phillips in fourth. Sorry, Bernie Phillips in fourth. Mark Baxter Jones finishes fifth, just ahead of Dan Bathy, with Ryan Ratcliffe in seventh position. Gavin Halls finishing eighth, a bit of a frustrating afternoon for him in the end, with Stuart Clark ninth and James Cummings finishing in 10th. Behind him was Paul Stout with Chris Bowie and Luke Holroyd all the way down in 13th actually in the end there. He finished just half a second ahead of Oliver Carwadine, with Austin Greatorex down in 15th place. He'll want better than that next time round. Johnny Elia finishes 16th, Carl Hazelton rounding out the afternoon in 17th, with Amrik Sashdev just over a minute down in 18th place. And then behind him was Mark Searle, as we just saw there, and Andrew Marston one lap down in the Pink Pig. And it's one of our favourite times of the afternoon where we get the interviews in. And let's have a quick look then. Well, I mean, to be honest, it's always good to speak to him, and he had an absolute demon start in that first race that we all bore witness to. Ryan Parkins joins us in the box. Ryan, another successful evening really on your part, but that second race, I mean, the battle with Carl and with Mark for the lead, that must have been brilliant fun, that.
Yeah, afternoon Chaz as well. Yeah, it's really good fun, the second race. It was really good. Held back at the start, caught them, but you just can't overtake, there's nowhere to go, and if you get too close at the last corner, Carl had the draft from Mark Bow in the lead, so then never going to get past, never going to catch him, so you've always got to back out, you know, on the gas coming out. So it's really difficult, so I tried to go around the outside, but we saw what happened.
Yeah, we did respect the fact that you actually gave the position back there as well. It was quite a racing incident. I mean, at first I was saying it was Carl's fault for coming over, but you know, everyone's always going to have different opinions on that. But in terms of the chase itself, I mean, you were all over the back of him. Was it a case of just trying to play it safe for the championship, or did you really want to send it up the inside and just try and get one over on him?
Well, I've been chatting to him during the week. I've given him a few tips, so I think it's backfired on me actually.
Love it.
But with yeah, catching him was fine. It was just that I think having been on the service on iRacing for a bit longer, I know you can brake a lot later. I feel you can go and push the tyres harder. There's just more grip because we're at the sunrise. I don't know if you could see that, but I couldn't see anything throughout the race. Like some braking points were completely blinded by the sky, by the sun. So then I'm having to brake really early, come off the gas early to make sure I don't plough into the back of him. But I noticed that. That's why I tried to go around the outside of him. So I knew I could just brake a lot later, but that's fine. I really enjoyed it.
Well, we did see as well that there were moments where, when you're on the brakes in these cars and you have to make an adjustment and just brake that bit harder or just sort of turn left or right, no matter where you try and go, any adjustment on the brakes in these cars is very difficult, isn't it, because of the rearward brake bias?
Yeah, so throughout the lap, I'm constantly changing the bias. So I'm at 47.50 going to turn 1, and then until you go to downhill braking into that carousel, I go right up to 48, just because the weight of the car makes the fronts don't lock. You get maximum braking from there, and not to lock the rear because there's less weight on it. And then the last corner, I go all the way down to 47.25. Then really flick the rear around to get it over those curbs. So you're constantly changing and trying to watch where they're braking. It gets quite difficult, but it's really good fun. I really enjoy the car. It's it's amazing. Love it.
It is a really good car to watch as well. I mean, because it's one of the more recent and the most sort of well-scanned cars that iRacing have. You can really read the body language of it, see it moving around, every little adjustment, every bit of curb, and it's a hell of a lot of fun to watch. I mean, I know that Peter and Jack as well will probably reflect the same comments, that they just look so lively on track, and there's so much going on. And a one-make series like this always provides great racing, especially on the same setup as well, doesn't it? It really sort of levels the playing field.
Well, what's amazing is I think some of us are getting towards a good end of a good, comfortable race pace for it. So obviously you saw in qualifying, me and Gavin were very close together, and I couldn't improve any more because from practice to the qualifying, the track rubbers in a little bit, the track state goes up, and then the temperature goes up. So you're just losing grip in these always small places. I'm sure I'll talk to Gavin and see where he gained his time, that extra little bit, but it's really difficult, and I love that in the sims. Just these extra times, from practice to quality to race, the time just goes slower because the track's getting warmer, and it's just
gets you excited.
I love it so much.
Well,
I know it's Sorry,
it's all right. I was mentioning it during the race as well that the temperature difference. I mean, we saw that from session to session. It really shows you the sort of realism that you get from iRacing and the obviously the circuit itself and how it reacts to the temperature. We've just been shown the championship standings as well. Of course, you are still top, 219 points. A nice big gap now back to Austin Greatorex and Carl Sharkey. They're on 154 and 152 points each. So Carl Sharkey not quite taking second in the championship there. But as we go towards the latter part of the season, you must be ever more confident now that you've got your hand on the trophy, surely.
Yeah, I do feel quite confident actually, but it's definitely tough. You see, everyone's improving. Mark Phillips has improved a lot, Gavin's improved a lot recently. Everyone's slowly coming up, and normally probably the last 3 or 4 laps you go and get back markers, and even those guys only the second to last lap. I think I started catching, or the last lap started catching people. So everyone's really improving. It's really good fun. It's really good fun helping and seeing the times come in. You're constantly getting messages on Discord of their times have gone and done this. It's really happy.
Well, it's great that you help the guys out as well with that improvement. It's really lovely to see, and it's again testament to the sort of community vibe that goes on behind these sorts of series. And fair play to you as well, because a lot of guys that would be top of their game and leading a championship like yourself, a lot of them would be sort of too stubborn to say, oh well, I'll help this person out or I'll give this person tips. But it's great to see that, mate, and massive respect for that. Before we let you go this afternoon there, Ryan, after another successful afternoon, I've literally just said them both.
Afternoon?
Afternoon. Do you want to give a shout out to anybody, mate?
I think as always, every week, Huntbridge Building, KB Pictures, Kate at Harry Crew, all such lovely people would help me out. Everyone in the community, you guys as well. I know my old man, he'll watch the race live, and then on Monday he'll watch it at 4 o'clock because he can't sleep, but he'll be thinking about it. He enjoys everyone, and I enjoy it. Everyone enjoys it. Oh, my girlfriend, Angelica Pacello, she lets me come and race, so she'll thank her really.
Cracking. Well, very, very well done again today, Ryan. Great performance as always, and we will see you in a week's time at Silverstone.
Silverstone? Oh, great, brilliant. Thank you very much. See you soon.
Cheers. Ryan Parkin's a hell of a character, isn't he, Jack?
He really is. The fact that last little question, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. We see you next week at Silverstone. All right, yeah, we're going there, are we?
Yeah. He just knows that he can just turn up and put the pace in, which is great. But just coming to you on that one, Peter, he mentioned that he helps these other drivers out as well, and he gets the feedback from them when they've improved their times. And I mean, as I said to him, it's a beautiful little community thing to hear that, isn't it? That these guys have such a great, sort of great vibe going on, isn't it?
Yeah, Ryan is just a hell of a nice guy. We're always chatting away during the week. He's telling me how he's getting on as well, and one of my fans of my podcast as well, which is very kind of him to listen to that as well and hear me out on that. But yeah, Ryan, he's done a great job getting some of the slower drivers up to speed as well, and as he mentioned, giving Carl a few tips there as well, getting him up to the very, very highest speed as we saw there in race 2. So yeah, no, it's great to have him on board, and I think, yeah, to your point, that's what Club Motorsport is all about. You know, it's that's what I believe there's a great camaraderie in the Porsche Club of Great Britain real world racing paddock, where people all gladly help you out for whatever you need. And we've seen that basically transfer over, and a lot of new friendships made in the sim racing paddock. So although we've had quite a negative with the lockdown over the last couple of months, this is a big positive that's come out of it as well.
And it's great to see that sim racing has had such an impact on a lot of things as well. And I mean, to be fair, like Peter says, it's down to the fact that it was seen as a negative that everyone would go into lockdown, and of course this has changed the world effectively, the whole COVID-19 situation. But brilliant things have come out of it, haven't they, Jack? I mean, we've got this epic series on board, and I'm sure that despite some of these guys obviously will have to sort of give it up to real world commitments as well at some point, I'm sure that the series will always go on, won't it?
Yeah, I think it's just that initial sort of stepping stone that's been made now, and people that are watching at home and they're thinking, oh yeah, I'd love to get in with that. Just hang around, keep watching, because as soon as anything else gets announced and the world goes back to, well, what will become the new normal, I think that like you say, the people, the current drivers, or a vast majority of them, will have to go back and deal with real life commitments. But if you can find the time in your day, and the grid has got a little smaller because of that, there's always going to be a seat for you. And I think that's just great, because it has really boosted the sim racing community, and maybe championships that weren't as popular have grown greatly, and it can only go up from there.
It certainly can. And just final words on this afternoon's racing then, boys. We'll start with you then, Peter. What did you make of this afternoon?
I think race 2 is my favourite race of the season so far. Some brilliant, clean action on a very challenging circuit. As I say, our drivers made it look very easy today, but can assure our listeners it is not. It was really good. Great to see Mark Phillips have a brilliant day with the 2nd and 4th place. Carl Sharkey up there nearly getting the win, and Mark Bowe getting his debut win. So we kind of had it all, and then I have to say I agree with you guys that having race 2 with the sun setting on Zandvoort, well, that was a real treat as well. And looking forward to the final 3 rounds of the year. We've got 3 classic tracks: Silverstone, Spa-Francorchamps, and then Brands Hatch to finish the season like we would in the British Touring Car Championship. So loads to look forward to over the next few weeks.
And what do you make of it as well, Jack? I mean, I have to agree with Peter. That was probably my favourite race of the season so far. That battle in that second race for the lead was absolutely tantalising, wasn't it?
It was. There was no real time to breathe in that, because as soon as you finish looking at one battle, another one had developed, and that was a completely different set of drivers on a completely different part of the circuit with different like driving abilities and conditions and things like that, which I think it just makes it a standout race throughout the season. And like what Peter said, we go to Silverstone, Spa, and then Brands, and I've got to say, Brands, it's my favourite track in the world ever, and Porsches, they're probably my favourite car on iRacing in the world ever. So the last round, although it is on the 26th of July, so not too far away, only around 20 days until we get there, I want it to happen tomorrow, because it's like the best combo. If you say car track combo on iRacing, 100% 911 Cup car around Brands, and I think if today's a taste of what we're going to get, then it's going to be an absolutely mega afternoon of racing to look forward to.
Well, I'll make sure that Peter and I have the sedative darts at the ready when a very excited Jack Werrell joins us in the booth for that finale. But thank you everybody for watching. As always, this has been Simracersworld TV. Chaz Draycott here with Jack Werrell and Peter MacKay in the box with me. It's been great to work with the guys as always. Have yourselves a fantastic afternoon, and we will see you in a week's time at Silverstone.